All right, the recording on us. This is on a very windy April 12th. This is the day following that frontal passage. You're about to see the video of the live stream coverage from WSLS TV out in Roanoke, where they're doing nonstop coverage of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings on the evening of April 11th. And there were lots of verifications. I'll explain more about all of that coming up in just a second. But again, this is the day after. Very windy out here in central Virginia. It's chillier too. This is typical behind a cold frontal passage, and this time of year, early April, is not that unusual. But again, just evidence of the power of that front as it came through last night. That was April 11th, with those strong and severe thunderstorms. So without further ado, let's talk more about that setup and look at some of the coverage from WSLS TV. Here's the satellite picture. This is the day after those storms that the live coverage was showing. But there's that storm system up moving through the upper Midwest, the cold front now offshore. Here's Virginia. So those were the storms that prompted all of this severe weather that happened on the evening of April 11th. Here's the storm report archive from the April 11th outbreak of severe weather. And there you can see this is from the Storm Prediction Center webpage. There are all of these clusters of wind damage reports, high wind reports, per their site. So there was lots of verification of the severe weather happening per all of those warnings and that coverage we saw on TV. Just a little closer look here. Again, all of these wind damage reports, high wind reports, clustered over western North Carolina, southwest Virginia, central Virginia as well. This was for April 11th that night, and that outbreak that the video coverage, live stream coverage from WSLS in Roanoke is part of this. There you can see wind reports. There was lots of those out here. This is the what they call the convective outlook issued by the Storm Prediction Center. And here you can see this is kind of an after analysis too. These were the actual storm reports as of recorded that night, April 11th, and then the morning of April 12th. These were the recorded reports. This area, colored area, was the outlook issued at 2 o'clock in the afternoon by the Storm Prediction Center on the day of the 11th. And they had an enhanced and moderate outlook for severe weather in this zone here, which is pretty high probability of severe thunderstorm winds, even tornadoes. And then just a level 1 risk here. But notice most all of the damage was right on the edge of this kind of dividing line between the level 1 and level 2 risk. So I would say the warning, the preliminary warnings for this situation were certainly there. But this zone where they thought the most severe weather reports would probably be did not really hold up in terms of where they actually happened down here. Nevertheless, pretty good forecast from the Storm Prediction Center. This was the convective outlook issued by the Storm Prediction Center the day before the event. This is on April 10th. And there you can see they had a enhanced to moderate risk, level 2, level 3 risk out here in West Virginia. And not much in Virginia, but this is the zone that ended up with more of the severe weather. So this forecast was a little too far west for where the actual damaging winds happened. Nevertheless, it gave a pretty good heads up that there was going to be severe weather in this zone, including Virginia and North Carolina, for the following day, which would be April 11th. This outlook, by the way, was issued the day before at the early afternoon. This is the tornado watch issued by the Storm Prediction Center. This was issued before 6 o'clock in the evening for this part of North Carolina, southwest Virginia, indicated there was a probability there could be some tornadoes. And in fact, we did see some tornadoes and warnings down here, especially down in North Carolina a few hours later that evening. So this was a pretty good heads up that there was going to be some severe weather. This was issued a little bit later at 9 o'clock that evening, a tornado watch now out here for the west central part of Virginia. These are mostly severe thunderstorms that came through here late that evening, though. This was on April 11th. This was a social media post I did. This was on the evening of April 11th. I pulled up the radar from the Radar Scope weather app, which I think is a great weather app and encourage you to get for your phone. But these were the severe thunderstorms happening down here in North Carolina at that time. This was a mid-evening, and there were multiple tornado warnings down here in western North Carolina. So just an example, using social media, I shared this on my Facebook feed, but these kind of images were available all over social media if you were looking for any kind of radar updates on this situation. Some notable features from the coverage, the live stream coverage from WSLS TV, was that they were on their weather app almost nonstop between when the event started around 6 p.m. in the evening on April 11th, right on through almost 11 o'clock that evening, even after that, after their evening news showed. Bottom line is what it showed is that getting the information is critical now, not only via TV forecasts and such during severe weather situations, but people get it through their weather apps. So that was live streaming on the weather app from that TV station because they knew that people will get that information more readily that way. And that is the trend now in the weather business and meteorology in terms of communication and communicating risk for severe and extreme weather. The object of this course, of course, and it is to get the information out as quickly as possible to the most people as possible so they can react to the risk situation approaching and take appropriate action and be prepared, that sort of thing. So I guess looking back on this event, we can kind of make the following conclusions. We're getting weather information quicker now than we ever have before in the past. Is that enough? I guess the answer to that is probably never enough, because we want to have people be aware of the weather situations during extreme weather events, severe weather, of course, but we also want people to know what to do during those extreme weather events. And that's important. You need to have a plan beforehand on how to react to severe weather. So we're getting the information out there much more efficiently now, but again, I think it can be done even better, because that was WSLS TV, the video I showed you, but not all stations and not all media sources are doing that kind of nonstop coverage. Many, in fact, most are doing a lot of coverage, but many are still not going down that route. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And in terms of alerting people to risky situations well beforehand, there's room for improvement there too. That involves better forecasts from all of our forecast sources, including the Storm Prediction Center. They do a great job, but we can always do better, right? And so that's all part of the whole scheme of things, is getting the information out to the consumer and then having the consumer react appropriately. And again, this is a perfect case example of a severe situation that happened this past spring.